Are there things that you do every day that you do unconsciously, subconsciously? Or are you consciously aware of what you do day in and day out? Hi, I'm Barbara Ann Shepherd, your personal mastery and accountability coach. And this is something like this week that I've really been looking at because I've been reading a book called The Slight Edge. And it's really simple, yet hugely profound. And part of me wishes I would have read this book or at least known about it 7 years ago. Yet I also realized I probably wouldn't have gotten as much out of it at the beginning of my conscious personal development versus now. And so that's a blessing. I am beginning to see a lot of my patterns or the things that I do and not realizing the difference that one or two small daily actions take on my life. And I'm hoping that you will also be able to see this in your life. We have what is called an invisible success that takes time. It's not instant. How many times have you watched somebody come seemingly out of nowhere overnight? Yet we don't see what's behind or below them. We don't see all of the work that they put in for months, years, and sometimes decades to get where they are right now. That invisible daily compounding success is what makes people look great. So, what are you doing every day that helps you tomorrow and the next day? That's the beauty of a compounding interest. We need to look consciously at what we're doing every single day because one simple change can help us or hurt us. Now, I know in my life, it was just over probably a year and a half ago, I had a coach who is no longer my coach, let me tell you. It did not take long to figure out that this was not very good advice. She's like, you need to quit reading so much. You need to quit learning so much. You need to quit doing all of this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I do tend to do a lot of learning and a lot of stuff like that because I used it as a crutch in a way. I used it as a coping mechanism for some of the stress in my life or stuff that I didn't want to deal with. So, like, okay, I can take a step back. Well, the only problem with that was I went too far. I stopped the programs. I stopped the reading. I stopped inputting good stuff into my brain. And what happened? My creativity disappeared. My thought processes weren't as positive. I didn't feel all that good because now all of a sudden what was taking its place was not as good. So suddenly I realized, wow. And well, in a way, it wasn't sudden. It took me many, many months to realize that, oh my gosh, I had stopped something that was really, really good for me. Even if at times I did overdo it and would rather immerse myself in learning rather than doing. Yet for me, I needed that. So about 7 weeks ago now, it was the beginning of March, and I had started even into February, but I really got serious about it at the beginning of March because I was in another group that did a challenge of, hey, read 15 minutes a day. So I thought, wow, that's an easy challenge for me. I read anyway, but now I was reading good stuff. And at the beginning of March, I was reading 15 minutes in a business book, and I was reading at least a chapter in a more spiritual or faith-based book. And eventually, within about 3 weeks, it was like, oh, I need a little more. So I had a third book, something that I've wanted to read, but just hadn't gotten to. And just recently, I added a fourth book. So I'm reading 4 chapters a night now because I switched that 15 minutes into a 1. Now, you wouldn't think, so I take maybe an hour to an hour and a half. You would not think that that hour to an hour and a half a day would make such a huge difference. Yet 8 weeks, 7 weeks later, I'm sitting here thinking of a lot of different things that I wasn't thinking about 7 weeks ago, 6 months ago, a year ago, because I had stopped. I had stopped my forward momentum. But that's the compound interest right there. You don't realize the tiniest little action that you take today, and then you do it again tomorrow, and you do it the next day. Now, it's really easy to use weight because it's something that we can see a little bit faster. So we can choose to take a 5-minute walk today, or we can not walk for that 5 minutes today. Are we going to see a response tomorrow difference? No. But if we continue with those same patterns, whichever one we choose, within a year, there's going to be a noticeable difference for the person that went out for a 5-minute walk every day, which probably grew to a 10-minute walk, a 15-minute walk, a 20-minute walk as time went by, because they're like, this is so great. They could go farther and farther and farther by the end of that month, versus the person who didn't go for a walk and they just kept going and they're wondering why they're gaining weight, or they can't do things as well, or they can't breathe, or they can't do things. These are the compound effects of our daily actions. It doesn't seem like we're going to make or break the bank, right, by one day, but it's how we add up those X's that makes the difference. Now, recently, I skipped a week of doing these lives because I needed a little break. I needed to look to see where I was going and how I was doing it. And I was like, I'm going to take a break. Even that week of sitting back, I had to really think about it that next Monday and go, oh my gosh, do I really want to do this? And go, yes, I need to do this. It's so easy, the simple things, the easy things, to either do them or not do them. So today, take a look at what have you been avoiding that may be the success, that invisible success part of your equation that moves you towards what you want in your life, versus the ones that you've been not doing or need to cut out because they're not good for you. And that will shift your life as well. Maybe you're doing something that self-sabotages you, or somebody else in your family, or a friend. So there's lots of different things that can sabotage us. Those small, seemingly insignificant little daily actions, choices, things we don't do, knowing we probably could do. So take a look this weekend. Grab yourself a cup of coffee, maybe a notebook. Sit down and say, hey, what does my days look like? Where can I create more? More time, more health, more money, more abundance, more prosperity, more love. Lots and lots of things. It takes small steps. Small. It's like a quantum. It's the tiniest little step you need to take, but if you do it daily and over time, it adds up. So do that this weekend. And I'd love to hear some of your comments below. What are some of the things that you're doing that are sabotaging you? What are some of the things that you do that light you up, that you do every day, that when you don't get to do them, oh my gosh, you can feel it, right? Because I know if I don't get to read, that for me, oh, got to read something good, even if it's only 5 or 10 minutes a day. I have to read it. I have to do it. It's a beautiful thing. So do that. And maybe if you're having trouble figuring out what those are, give me a holler. Because sometimes talking it out with somebody else or just being able to hear yourself think in a way makes you realize some of the stuff that you are aware of that maybe you've been ignoring or pushing away. So let's book a call and let's have a chat because there's exciting things coming for you. And I'd love to be there to support you. All right. I'll see you on Monday.